Drum roll, drum roll. I'm doing my fake French, Deborah. Fake French. How are you, my darling?
Hi. Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here and to meet you.
Oh my God, the feeling is so mutual.
Oh my God. Okay, what eye is that? What eye? Because
okay, I'll tell you what I did. You know what I thought I'd bring around? I brought Big Bertha for our chat, but I am wearing, Deborah, I'm wearing 19 different things because you know that kind of day, you've had this day 100 times where there's so many different people you have to be that you're going on and off with the makeup.
Yes.
And I had that today. So this is universe and fortune and desire and everything, but mainly smoky eye with magician and universe.
And it's gorgeous. And you're wearing sparkles.
Of course I am, in your honor, my darling. I was going to wear
honored.
a 19-pound jumper from Sainsbury's with flowers on it because I was so proud. I'd gone to a supermarket and bought this 19-pound jumper. Not 19, 10 pounds actually. Didn't you? $12 jumper. Yeah, what's the exchange rate now? Now, you know what? On Facebook, I had said, I went over to Facebook because I got 1.5 million girls there. And I said, look, I got Debra Messing on. Come on over to Instagram. And I said, Hollywood thing. But you live in New York.
I live in New York City. Yes.
And because I love that you live in New York, that just gives so much more dimension to you.
Yeah, yeah. I grew up on the East Coast, up in Rhode Island, next to a farm, and I got my master's degree in acting from NYU, which brought me to New York. And my whole dream was to be on Broadway. And then I got my TV show that brought me out to Los Angeles.
And then you became an LA girl. Can we go back then? Can we go back to that time? Because I want to learn about you. And also, I really hope my daughter is watching, Deborah, because she's applying to Tisch.
Oh,
and she's applying to Tisch. So afterwards, and we must have a chat about that. But I just want to ask you, when you were, at what age did you wake up to pursuing the dream that was the acting dream?
5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me the exact moment?
Well, no, actually, it was older. I was 7.
Well, that's not much older.
Okay. My parents brought me to New York City from Rhode Island to see the Broadway show Annie. And and we had great seats, and all of a sudden it opened up and there were all these girls that were my age who were up there singing and dancing, and I literally like levitated, and I was like, what's going on? And I was like, Mom, I want to be up there. I want to do that. And she was like,
and did they have red hair?
One of them did.
But that must have been a huge moment, because that is you. So you're on a farm outside. I mean, would you say you grew up with a rural life?
I call it the rural suburbs. I was 8 miles from the nearest gas station.
Okay, the rulububs.
That's it.
Okay.
Very
who was your icon then as a woman?
For me, it was Barbara Streisand.
Was it?
Yeah, yes. I know.
Tell me why. I mean, she's phenomenal, but tell me why.
She's phenomenal. Well, my mom loved her. My mother was a singer when she was a teenager, so she loved Barbara Streisand. Okay. But I grew up in a place that was very homogenized. And so I was only one of
Stepford Wivey, homogenized? What do you mean by homogenized?
No, I mean, I was only one of 3 Jewish kids in the entire town.
Okay.
So, and everybody had like Cheryl Tiegs or Farrah Fawcett, all of these models who were blonde with straight hair. And I had crazy curly hair, and I had big features, and I thought I was ugly. Mm. And people made fun of how I looked because I looked
girls
different.
Of your age, because they couldn't understand something different.
Yes. Yeah. And so I watched Funny Girl, the movie, where Barbara Streisand is the ugly duckling. Yeah. And she gets to be funny, and that's how she gets her big break. And then she becomes a big star.
And that is a huge, that film, I mean, that film made an impact on me too. And I think you're younger than me, Deborah. I don't know, how old are you?
I'm 52.
Okay, you're like 5 years younger than me, but I remember that movie. I remember the moment, you know, it was like Now Voyager, Bette Davis, you know, that moment of that kind of awakening.
Yes.
Not like the Swan, not like a makeover thing, but just like, well, her voice was the awakening because it was so beautiful.
That was it. And it really struck me that because she had this gift that no one could take away from her, that made her unique, that what she looked like didn't matter. And I loved to sing and dance and storytell. And so instead of being like, no, I don't look like everyone else, I'm not going to even try to be an actress, singer, dancer. Because of that movie, I thought, you know what, if I work really hard and I study and I go to school and, you know, I actually have talent, someone will find me.
So then was that like top of your agenda all the time? So like when you were going through middle school and high school, was that like, it was on there? You were in the school plays, you were really in there. Were you always the lead role? That's what I want to ask every actress. Were you always the lead role?
No.
Okay. So, yeah.
No, my first musical in high school was The Sound of Music, and I was Brigitte. And
okay, fine, Brigitte.
Yes.
Which one was Brigitte in The Sound of Music?
She was the bookworm.
The bookworm, yeah, okay.
All right,
okay. So they hadn't yet identified you were lead role talent.
No, but when I was a sophomore, I was cast as Annie.
Oh, you were, oh my God, that must have been like an epiphany coming home bloody moment.
And I was 5'5".
The perfect Annie. The perfect Annie.
And my daddy Warbucks was 5'7". So when he had to hold me at the end of it, it was really funny.
So I want to ask you, this sounds like not plain sailing, but like you're finding yourself, you're getting to school. But when you look at the challenges, what was the biggest challenge? Like once you were at NYU, that must have been so different from how you described your rural, you know, was that just a kind of...
Yeah, it was, you know, I'd never worked so hard in my life. We were studying 90 hours a week for 3 years straight.
And you were at the acting school bit of NYU?
Yes, I was in the graduate acting program at Tisch.
Oh, you were at Tisch? Oh my God, my daughter's going to be so, I wish she's watching. Okay.
Yeah. I've been watching her. I've been watching her baby growing. I already know her, even though we've never met. And
can I just say, I've got to somehow, Nisha, you're on the other phone, but I need to call Lila now. Can I just call Lila now?
She's watching.
Okay, Lila, you're watching?
Lila. Okay,
Lila, are you sure she's watching?
Yeah.
Okay, Lila, can you just listen to everything? Can we just focus the next 20 minutes on how to get into Tisch? No, I'm kidding. So
I would love to talk with Lila separately.
I would love that more than anything. It's the sweetest thing that you could offer. But I just want to say, so in that time, in your 20s, what were your biggest challenges?
I think it was just belief in myself. You know, I think that we're not raised, or at least in our generation, you're not raised to dream too far, you know?
Yeah. It's so you didn't have a mum who said you should do this and go on to this and you can be this.
No,
yeah, I didn't either, actually.
My mother was like, if you love it, follow your passion, study hard, and I believe in you. My father was like, yes, you can sing and dance, but you have a brain, so go to Harvard Law School.
Can you be a doctor, please? Yeah.
Yes. And so I think, you know, it was really about just feeling like I was one of 100 million young girls who wanted to do this. And and I think for me, it was the thing that changed everything for me was when I decided to listen to my own voice and to follow what my instincts were. My first play out of graduate school was The Importance of Being Earnest in Seattle, Washington. And I had a dream that I was going to play all the big parts all over the country. And I went and I had a great time, but I was homesick. And I was like, I can't do this. I can't. So when I came back, I called my agents and I said, change of plans. I'm not taking any jobs that take me out of New York. And they said, 99% of all the jobs are outside of New York. And I said, I know, I'll wait. And I was willing to wait.
And you did that?
I did. And I got a catering job. And 3 months later, I got my first off-Broadway play.
You see, there's something in that, isn't there? Like, how old are your children now?
I have one son who's 16.
Okay. So it's a different age in which he's growing up. He's also a different sex. But I just want to think that, like, if you look at the challenges you think girls face today, because you do a lot around female empowerment. Yes. And I think that as this is, you know, for us at Trinny London, International Women's Month, you know, we don't want to make it a day. We just want to keep resonating with it.
Yes.
But what do you think are the most important messages for girls today?
Well, I mean, first of all, we have to pass, in America, we have to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. We have to change our Constitution to say that men are equal to women. Right now, only men have all the rights. I think that we have to say that women are equally strong, equally intelligent, equally as resilient, equally as intuitive, and to lift our girls up.
More intuitive.
More intuitive. Yes, and to just to let go of that old narrative that women don't support women, that women are
well, that's something which is interesting, because I think that that's a narrative that's maybe used by the opposite sex as well. But I think it's very important too that, you know, on my community here, and I think on yours, Deborah, we have a very, very supportive, uplifting Trinny tribe, and they all are there for each other through the pandemic. They've been there for each other endlessly.
It's amazing. Right. I mean, I have been obsessed with you and your community for like a while now. Like I watch you do Pilates from my bed, but I watch, and my favorite thing of everything is your twinning Fridays. Your twinning.
Oh, we love twinning. We've done tripleting a bit.
I saw that
for March, and we've got a lovely one this week. But
it's the celebration of individuality, that there's beauty everywhere. Yeah. That and that we have the right to play and to celebrate our womanness and our ability to create communities. That's what we do. We create tribes.
Yeah. What's really interesting, I find as well, is the difference between America and the UK in terms of friendships, communities, and tribes. I think I just wanted to just explore that for a second, because I think the way we go to school is a bit different. You know, a lot of, you know, the way we go to school is a little bit different. And then the way we mature perhaps is a little bit different, because you have such restriction around alcohol and things like that, that it makes things so like maybe like a melting pot. You know, spring break, we don't have that kind of explosion of semen you have in Florida in spring break concept, you know, that I don't know, that's a really appallingly vulgar way to put it, but I just think of that. I think of just endless kind of shenanigans. Let's call it shenanigans. All right, much better. Sorry, Deborah, that was a little bit rude.
I loved it.
But it's like, you know, the I don't know. It's like when I see, so for example, when I see American TV and English TV and the way friendships are shown, it's just, I notice the differences in some small ways. But how is that? It's difficult for me to put it into words, but like, I think British people take longer to make friends, but those friends they'll be with through thick and thin. And I think Americans are so much more, you know, immediately, let's find that thing in common and let's form a bond upon it. But maybe will it have the consistency and depth and length? I don't know, because it's like, you know, it's like if we look at how we learn stuff, Deborah. So there's things I learned when I had to go to the Encyclopedia Britannica, and they stayed inside my head. The memory palace is there. I can retrieve them. Stuff I look up on the internet when I'm watching a show and I want to see from Shark Tank did that company fail or succeed? I have no idea 2 minutes later what the company's name was.
I know.
So that was a
me then.
Weird analogy, but I don't know. We're going back here to friendships. I don't know how we got there in the first place, but it's just the importance of friendships and the importance of intimacy, you know, really sharing your proper feelings.
Yeah. And I think Americans, we are, you know, we try to be like inviting and, you know,
but you are, that's what's so phenomenal. That's what I love about it.
But that does, in a way, put up a wall, an invisible wall that kind of says, all right, we play and we goof around together, but don't think that we are going to go deep. Don't think that I'm going to really reveal myself to you and that you are safe to reveal yourself to me.
Yeah. Is there the silence and space?
That's a whole other investment of time in this country.
Yeah, that's very, very true. Very true. Okay, I'm going to switch to something because I do want to know this, because you've interviewed some amazing people, Debra, on your podcast.
Yeah.
And I just want to ask you that,
you know,
when
that
you
you're not letting me ask any questions of you.
No, okay. You ask me one, and then I'm going to come back to that one.
Okay. You have created something so incredible. And I would love to know what advice you would give to other women who have a dream in their head and they look to you and they say, I could never do what Trinny did. What would you say to them?
I'd say a few things. I'd say that when I made the decision to take the idea inside my head out onto the kitchen table was the time that was the worst time in my life to take risks. Okay, because there was a lot going on in my personal life where I should have been getting a regular job and being stable for Lila. All right. So my age, I was like 50 when I, you know, was getting that idea out of my head. And when an idea is inside your head, Debra, it's safe. It's safe from criticism. It's safe in the dream state in which it lives, that you never have to experience its demise or incredible success, which you might not secretly believe it might have.
Yeah.
So it's all about, at what stage do you think it's now or never? And that's one of the hardest decisions to make. And then once that's there and it's on the kitchen table and your friends are giving their critique to it and their opinion, at least it's out there, and then you formulate it, you bring it to life, and then you decide, what am I going to do to make this work? And then the journey begins. And I think on that journey, there's times like, you know, when I've told this story before, Debra, when my, and Lila's watching, but when her father died, and I remember we had a thing at home, okay, and two really good friends said, Trinny, you know, do you really think now is the time for you to do this business? I think it might be better that you just get a regular job and just make sure you feel grounded. And I said to them, that's nice for you to think about me in that. And I don't know what job I would do. It's like, Debra, it's like you and I, we could go back to doing, like, I could be a secretary again, or I could, but like a proper job at that time, especially having years of being in front of the screen, it's like, what job would I do if I didn't do this? You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, am I employable? I mean, employable for, you know, I could do anything, but like employable for a career job, apart from what our passion is. So I then came back to them a few days later and I said, look, and they had also suggested to me, because I was living in a house too expensive, my royalties had run out from TV shows and books. And I had to just make a big change in my lifestyle too. So they had said, look, we'll lend you some money, you know, for this time when it's tricky. And they were really the kindest, sweetest friends. So I went back to them a few days later and I just said, look, I know I have to do this. It's like, I have to do it. I'm going to do it. And 6 months later, when I had, you know, I'd done some tiny initial fundraising through a scheme in the UK, you can do through a tax scheme. And then I was doing like my big raise to launch it. And they said, come and show us your plan. And they became an investor. So, you know, you kind of, when you have an idea and you think it has legs, the other thing I would say to women, Debra, is you never know what is behind the closed door. because there are many moments that we can write a narrative to make our potential future smaller.
Yes.
And I think men can, with 50% of the knowledge, charge into the action, and women want 100% of the knowledge, sometimes feel the confidence to go on their journey. So knowing that you don't know what is behind the closed door means that if you put all your effort and all your work into it, then things can come from left field to help you. And you don't know where it's going to come from. You really don't. And that's what happened to me when I was building the business. I didn't know. And unexpected things came out from all the groundwork I put in, but I didn't expect. And that helped me on the next bit and the next bit. And then today we are, 3 years down the road, and it's really exciting.
I love
so
that.
That's my long-winded thing. So,
when I started, when we started our podcast, The Dissenters, one of the first things that led us to start it was there were all of these amazing people who just decided one day to do something spectacular, and it changed the world.
Yeah.
And after interviewing so many people, that the one thing that every one of them said was, I wasn't trying to form a foundation. I wasn't trying to create Black Lives Matter. All I was doing was I saw something that I thought there's a better way, and I want to help. And so they just took one step, just one step. And she said, and that's how ultimately I got to where I am, because people think, oh, I'm not educated enough, or I don't have enough followers, or I don't have enough money to do anything. And the fact is that everybody can take one step. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the thing that was most inspiring for me from all of these interviews.
It's so, and it's like we can so easily look in on women we admire and forget they started in a position that might be very similar to ours, because we just see them in the magnificence of what they've become and how we perceive them and how we might look after them. Because you've interviewed women I really admire. I mean, from Jane Fonda, who I truly admire in the metamorphosis of her beliefs, and that I think continuously a sort of championing warrior for causes, but also at that same time, an unbelievably feminine, engaging, sexy woman with a, in her 70s marrying somebody else. I mean, just you look at that and you think, on every level, that's unbelievably amazing.
Yes. Yeah, she was unbelievable. And she also went through some really, really difficult times. Mm. And to hear her talk about what it was like to come up against all of these obstacles or these, crises, and to navigate through them and just to keep moving forward. It really just changed the way I look at her now.
So what had changed? So before you did the chat, what did you see compared to having done the chat that you now see?
Oh, when I thought of Jane Fonda, I thought of, revolutionary, Academy Award winning actress, icon, just an artist.
So on a pedestal, sort of just pedestally.
And also part of a family dynasty.
Yeah.
Her father,
Henry, Peter.
Yes, all of them. Mm. And so I think I thought things were easier for her.
That's the thing. Yeah.
I think I assumed that the road was easier for her because her family had started to pave it. And then once she became, Barbarella happened, and she became this, this sexy, megastar. I thought then she just was like, oh, you know what? Now I'm going to create this aerobic empire, and I'm going to create this, and I'm going to do this. Yeah. But it wasn't that sort of flippant, Mm-hmm. It came out of, what she would later talk about her eating disorder, and how we never, ever really know what's underneath all of these efforts.
I know.
And I think that, I think that we have to presume more that every person, especially every woman we meet, has struggled at one point or another, so that we all look at one another with compassion, regardless of what we see.
And it's that classic thing of never compare your inside with somebody else's outside, because you always come off worse, you know, and it's just what the other person is probably doing too. So it is a really good lesson. Other people, who's been somebody who was very different in that? So tell me, Jamila Jamel.
Oh. Well, in America, she's a big star from her American TV show. I know that she had a whole music DJ personality life before in your country. But, you know, she was just sort of this beautiful, statuesque, lovely. When she sat down, she was like a feral cat. Like, really? I was not ready for it. She was like, I'm here. I'm going to tell my story. It's a really ugly story. And I survived it. And because of this, I am committed to doing X, Y, and Z. And I don't care about the fallout, because I feel so strongly that I must be an advocate, that I'm not going to worry about what my culture dictates or what my family dictates. I mean, the strength that was coming off of her, it was really, I was physically taken aback. Because I'd only met her once before, and it was.
And for some people, that can be, you know, to listen to that can be uncomfortable. That can be, you know, it's not always, you know, when you're interviewing like that. I imagine, Deborah, it's like, because you want to feel, you know, like tonight we've got all. I just have to say, we've got all these ladies who are leaving all these amazing comments, and we're not taking any of them up. So, can we take a pause for a second, because Nisha is here.
Yes.
On the phone, and she's
Nisha.
hopefully writing a few down. Deborah says hi, Nisha. And I just wonder, because I really want to feel the audience can have an opportunity to ask us questions and things too.
Okay.
So if those of you who've asked already, just to Nisha, I don't know if you've got some questions that people had asked for Deborah, or, you know, or are they just interested in the chat and we're fine? I mean,
everyone's very inspired listening to your chat. We've got a question here, which is, what are some of the challenges that girls face using social media, and what work do you think there is to still be done?
I think social media is a very dangerous, powerful entity in our lives. You and I did not come up with that.
It's interesting you say the word dangerous before powerful.
Yes.
So you're putting danger as the foremost word to attach to it.
Well, yes, I do. I mean, I choose to use social media to, you know, to raise people up, to share celebrations that are happening, to encourage people to vote. I mean, we had a very, very, very contentious and important election that we had. But what we have learned in America is that social media was used to to infuse propaganda into our country, and it worked. And I think when it was first invented, it was this glorious way to connect us. I mean, when it's used as it was originally intended, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I think I have to say a few things on it. So it's like, how much is about a very personal experience, and how much is that about that broader political picture? So on a personal experience, I feel that my daughter, who is home alone without any siblings, you have a son, he has no brothers or sisters. If she hadn't had social media, she would have been unbelievably lonely, especially as a single child. She has a half brother, but living like that, because, you know, for her, what got her through, and in England we had quite a strict lockdown, we're still on lockdown, But, you know, it was that she could every night hang out through social, through some kind of platform with her friends as if they're in the room, feeling not alone. And, you know, looking at her, your son is 16, my daughter's 17. What should they be doing right now? Going out, having fun. In New York, you're opened up again. But, you know, Lila is like, not to go out at night, not to go out during the, you know, the day unless it's necessary. That will ease up soon. But, you know,
we're still like that as well.
You're still like that as well. But like the summer of love, not necessarily in Florida, but, you know, the summer of love. And so she's got something else. And I'm so relieved that she's had that. I am very relieved she's had that. And I don't know if your son probably is. I remember my stepson, he started grunting 13 to 15, 16, but I don't know if your son's in that, Deborah. But my daughter's equivalent of grunting is talking to me as she's doing a TikTok. Or in the middle of a sentence, Mommy, come and do a TikTok with me. It's like, But just on a micro level, forget about the political level for a second, but on a micro level, within your home, Deborah, all right?
Yes.
Okay. With your son and communication.
Within my home, my son asks me to be on social media less.
Does he?
Yes.
You see, because you and I are on it maybe more than our kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he was like, enough. You know, you can use it, but you don't have to use it as much as you're using it.
Yeah.
And I really took that in. And and being on it less has lowered my anxiety levels. You know, when I was on it all the time, and Twitter as well, I had very high anxiety levels. So I think it's interesting that it's sort of backwards, that my adolescent son, who is supposed to be like, you know, on TikTok and all these things all the time, he was the one who was like, okay, enough, be here with me. Let's watch a movie together. Let's play a game together. And I was like, oh my God, he is 100% right. But I do think that the connecting of people, I mean, the fact that you and I are talking like this,
I know.
I feel like because of this, I am seeing your eyes.
Yeah.
That I feel like there is an intimacy with you. Yeah. That would never happen if it was a phone call.
It would never happen. Somebody had left a comment, Deborah, saying, you know, what about phones? It was we were fine with phones during a pandemic, but it is that seeing people. So for Lila, it's seeing her friends. It's not just hearing her friends.
Yes.
And I think that because we're both very used to being on camera and you know, filming something where we know that it's going to a bigger audience, I think that helps us to be very transparent and present on social media, because we both do that. And I looked at your social media, you know, a lot, and I just thought we both have that. I'm going to not deny that we have that and I wouldn't call it as a talent, but it's just when I'm talking, I don't feel I'm talking by myself in a room. I feel I'm having a conversation with a few thousand women. Yes. And we're all enjoying it. Like on a Friday, we do this meditation on Facebook, and we meditate, and we've got like 70 countries around the world with Trinny tribes, and we're all meditating together for the last 5 weeks for like 15 minutes. And the feeling, and we do these sort of shaman campfire meditations, Deborah, and I'm not sort of spiritual, but I like to have that balance between a frenetic week and getting into the weekend. So this is like the break. We do it 6 o'clock on a Friday, and it's incredibly powerful. And imagine before then I would be in a spiritual church or synagogue or mosque or whatever to have that feeling, you know. And that's something that to me is only through the power of the social media we have today.
I think I think to clarify the word dangerous, for me, there is kids are bullied on social media.
Yeah, that's something which is yes. So let's talk about that, because that's
from millions of kids who don't know them and they don't know them, and the incidence of teen suicide has increased exponentially since the advent of social media. And the other thing is, now that we have things like Facetune, the app that can like make your wrinkles go away and fill out your nose, which I use, you know, there is this false.
Debra, can I ask you, why do you use it? I'm going to challenge you on that, because you know what I do is when I do my stories, I sometimes look tired and I swipe left and I do the Paris filter.
Right.
And in the last few days, I think, why am I doing that? Why am I doing that? Because, you know, people will look at you and I and think, you know, and on Trinny London, like, no woman is photoshopped unless she has like some snot dribbling down her nose or the lipstick wasn't put on straight. But like, we don't take away a scar, or like in Naomi Campbell's case on some very funny airdropping photoshopping in the 80s, her tummy button. But it's interesting that, because I just want to, we still have this slight fear of revealing exactly how we are and what we look like. And I think that the more everyone does it, the more everyone will do it. And I do think that, you know, Fine-Tune is an app that I think really makes girls go easier into anorexia, makes them feel really not as, as, you know, so
that's really what I mean when I say it's dangerous, is that, you know, there are so many images out there that are manipulated, and young girls look at these images and say, why don't I look like that? And then, you know, then they start, you know, the self-love that they had already started, you know, enjoying starts to go away, and the self-doubt, and, you know, it leads to.
So I'm going to give us both a challenge, Debra. Which is this, okay? Because Lila will notice if I've probably done Paris. I don't know. I've never asked her actually. But am I sending there a tiny message saying, you know, I will do a ton of, you know, I can do this now because I don't give a shit. It's like, it's nearly time for bed. You're going to get dressed now. I do not give a shit. It's really weird this, but live on camera, I'll start taking off my makeup. I don't care, okay? I'll just do it.
Part of the reason why I love you is that you.
And I'm doing it now, by the way, because as
no
much as I
on.
love you, my partner has not seen me for so many nights, and I feel it's 8:30, and I need to take off my makeup so I'm talking to you, multitask.
Yes.
And
you're
do
a single
everything.
Mom who works like so many of us.
But should we challenge ourselves on this one, Debra, about this thing that being in the public eye, feeling that need to filter, and it's very difficult because you have also, there's that point in entertainment still in America of at what level are you invisible to somebody casting? And I want to just talk about that for a second and how much you think that's changed and moved.
Well, I think that historically, when a woman is in her 50s in Hollywood, she disappears.
You still think that's true?
I do, unless you are someone like Nicole Kidman, who has been, you know, a magnificent star for decades. You know, and she creates her own content, by the way. She produces her own movies, her own TV shows.
Does she produce like Big Little Lies and things?
Yeah, she was the co-producer. Okay. So there's a lot of women my age who are like, you know what? If you're not going to cast me, or if you're not even going to write stories about women in their 50s, then I am going to acquire books and I'm going to have them be made into movies, etc. I think what
she had the power to take life into her own hands and do that, but many women won't.
Many women do not, and and then, you know, in America, you know, I think that women are, there's a lot more pressure to do plastic surgery.
Yeah,
and you know, so if you were an ingenue and then you were in your 30s and 40s, you became a leading lady. You know, when you get to your 50s, as an actress, it's almost like you have to make a decision. Do I want to be a lovely elder woman.
Elder woman. I just love the way you describe that. Elder woman.
Elder woman.
Yeah.
Or like I think of Helen Mirren. Like, she's magnificent. I think she's gorgeous. You know,
something about her because she has the ability. I was just about to say she has the ability to be sexy at 70. Okay, so Judi Dench is not sexy. I love her. I've met her, but even in the Magnolia Hotel, you know, she has this affair, and it's not totally conceivable. She's a divine, and you want to hug her all your entire life, and she's the nicest actress ever.
And she is what we call a character actress.
Yeah.
Just like Frances McDormand, who is one of the best actresses, you know, ever. And she has decided, you know what, I'm not going to put my focus on trying to remain looking young and beautiful and fresh. Yeah. And the kinds of roles she does, you can see that they differ. Now, in my mind, the ideal is to be able to do it all. You know, like Meryl Streep does it all. Yeah. You know, she's beautiful, but she also, you know, can dive in there and wear funny prosthetics and do character work. Yeah. So
you're saying it hasn't really changed. I mean, it's changed from, you know, the 40s and 50s when literally after 30 you were invisible. So I suppose the gateposts are changing, but I do feel that's a slow mechanism. Darling, we've nearly come to the end of time. I want to just ask Nisha burning desire questions because I want to just go back to that wonderful audience. And Diane Keaton, yes, Diane Keaton, Judi Dench, Meryl Streep, we love all of them.
Oh my God.
Audrey Hepburn aged gracefully, absolutely. So many of them. Maggie Smith, we love all these women. They're just to die for. Nisha, yes.
Thank you. Yes, as it's International Women's Month, what is one piece of advice that a woman has given to you that has stayed with you?
It's very simple. She told me, listen to your inner voice and trust it. Because you're always going to have lots of opinions. A lot of people telling you why you shouldn't do something or why you shouldn't care about something or what the consequences could be for either feeling that or doing that. If you silence all of that, and while you're meditating on Facebook with Trinny, and you really sit and you think, do I really feel like this is the right thing for me? And if that answer is yes, trust it. It's your life.
It's a very good bit of advice. Was that from your mother?
Yes.
Debra, it's been the biggest joy. I can't tell you, I want to make this a regular thing, and I don't know how we can do that because you already do a podcast, and I'm jealous of your partner who does the podcast with you. But I think in terms of a sort of nylon,
yes,
you know, we could consider actually, can we just think about this? If we could consider something that unites those British and American women, and we could be the conduit for doing some kind of podcast, and it could be around, you know, just differences and similarities. And I don't know, will you put that in your pipe and smoke it?
Yes, I will. I think the two of us could be an amazing duo.
And we could just think, and you know how, can I just say, actually, what could be quite fun is, all right, okay, if this could be done, because, you know, on Instagram, you can now have 4 people.
Yes.
All right. So, you know, Crossfire.
Yes.
Yeah. And I love Crossfire. I mean, I don't know if it's good anymore, but I love the way it was a Democrat and a Republican, and then their guest was a Republican and a Democrat. And it was like, they had to kind of, you know, do the opposite. So it's like, if we each had a guest, so my guest would be an American, your guest would be an English person, there'll be something where we could incorporate that sort of crossfireness to the conversation.
Yeah.
Could that be kind of interesting?
I think it could be very interesting.
Okay. All right. Let's think about it.
Let's meditate on it.
Let's meditate on it. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in and watching. And it's been my greatest pleasure to have on the...
I've been giddy. I have been giddy since I heard that we were going to be doing this. I can't even tell you. I'm so, so thrilled to have met you. You are just as glorious as I imagined you would be. And thank you to your entire community for letting me come and share some time with you. And we will, in the back channels, we will connect Lila with me.
I would love that more than life. Yeah. Just to get advice on it, be fantastic. She'd make her day. So sweet of you, Deborah.
Until
biggest kiss.
Again.
Oh, bye.